We're going to move on now, and we're going to return to my interview, in fact, with the Prime Minister, and the question of whether there should finally be a public inquiry into the Birmingham pub bombings. 21 people died and around 200 were injured in 1974. At the time of the 50th anniversary last November, Sir Kier Starmer told us that the government was engaging with the community and with campaigners, and so on Thursday I asked him what he'd done since then.
Well, there has been engagement by the government with those communities, and of course what we've done, particularly in recent weeks and months, is to set up the new legacy arrangements, which we've now agreed with the Irish government and will now put through the necessary legislation, and that means that this case can now go into that system.
Do you think, does that make an inquiry more likely?
Well, it needs, in my view, it needs to go into the new legacy arrangements, because they're designed to get to the bottom of all the legacy issues, including the Birmingham pub bombing. And so that's the route that this case should now take. I'm pleased that we've got the legacy arrangements in place. It's something that hadn't been done for many years, but we've now managed to get them in the right place. So we've made progress in that respect.
Just finally then, can I ask you, for the families, do you understand why they feel forgotten? We've had public inquiries on any number of events in British history over the years and in very recent times. Do you understand why they feel forgotten?
Well, let me be clear and speak directly to them that they're not forgotten, and they will never be forgotten. I don't think any of us would ever forget what happened in that pub bombing, for the families that is acute, and they carry it every single day. What's important is that we therefore provide the mechanism through now the legacy arrangements for them to get the truth and accountability that they quite understandably want to see.
And we're joined in the studio now by Julie Hambleton, who set up the Justice for the 21 Families campaign. She lost her sister Maxine in the blast in November 1974. Julie, you've just heard my conversation with the Prime Minister there. What do you make of what he had to say?
Well, where do I start? First and foremost, it would be morally, well, actually, it would be the epitome of moral and ethical turpitude if they refuse to give us a public inquiry. All we want is the truth. Everyone deserves the truth. Our loved ones, our families, the survivors, our city that continues to be stained by this atrocity deserves the truth. The issue is that there's no other body, this legacy body he's referring to, is not suited to deal with our complex case, because the highest office in government is implicated, and that is the Home Office. And only a judge-led public inquiry has the mechanism in place to provide the answers that we desire and that our loved ones and the survivors and the city deserve to have. For your listeners to clarify the point of who we are. 21 people were murdered. They went out one night, never to see the light of day again. Over 200 people were left with life-changing injuries. The Irish community were vilified for something they didn't do. And a city continues to ask the questions with zero answers. We, as families, simply want what all other families have been quite rightly given, which is a public inquiry. We've never ever said we want money. We don't want money, and we don't want an apology. We just want the truth.
A public inquiry. Now, you heard me put that to the Prime Minister, and he mentioned the new arrangements. Very recently, just in the last couple of weeks, a new arrangement has been made with the Irish government, a new legacy proposal, which would mean that inquests can restart and legal cases can restart. And they're talking about new kind of independent hearings, which would be chaired by independent judges. Is there any way that you could be convinced that that sort of setup could help you and the other families in this case?
Absolutely not, no. Because the Legacy Act that the Conservatives put in place is a way for the security services and the government to control the narrative. What you need to remember here is that for decades the security services and successive governments have been telling us that they have absolutely no documentation whatsoever to do with what continues to be England's longest unsolved mass murder of the 20th century.
But what what this government doing now is actually doing away with the previous Legacy Act, though, isn't it? It's trying to right some of the wrongs that you're referring to.
Well, no, they're not. All they're doing is they've rewritten it. And the thing is that the Prime Minister is saying there that they've been engaging with us. He's never met us. He refuses to meet us. Maybe you, Preet Gill, can go to your Prime Minister, your boss, and say to him, why won't you meet these families? Why won't Shabana Mahmood, who is a Birmingham MP, who is now the Home Secretary, come and meet our families and listen to us? We deserve a public inquiry. We don't want any money, because that isn't going to bring them back.
Let's let Preet respond.
Julie, I mean, I have huge amount of admiration and respect for you and everything that you've been doing. You've been a strong, powerful advocate on this, and I think you heard the Prime Minister say we will never forget the 21, and you're right, we need to do justice. We are repealing the Act in 2023 that the Conservatives brought, and that's what the Prime Minister is talking about in terms of the Legacy Act, giving provisions to make sure it can go into inquiries like this. Look, I know we need to see the detail of that before you can comment on that, and I will take back the concerns that you have raised. I know Shabana, as the new Home Secretary, will want to meet with you. And you know, I wrote to the Home Secretary in June. I got a response back in July that it was being considered. The government is taking serious consideration.
You will go to Shabana Mahmood and you will ask her to meet with Julie and the other families?
Absolutely. Look, I think Birmingham MPs have always understood that the city has wanted to see justice delivered at the end of the day.
Okay.
And, you know, I will do whatever I can to make sure you get a response back. But we also need the detail of what the legacy provisions mean.
I think, Preet, with all due respect, for the families, for this city, for this region, 50 years on, warm words are not enough anymore. This was something that Andy Street, when he was the mayor, he really grasped this and championed. So we really need Mayor Parker to also grasp this and take it to the government.
Although, Wendy, the Legacy Act, which your government introduced, actively stopped investigations into crimes like this one.
I appreciate that. But what I'm saying, Elizabeth, is there's another opportunity here, if you want to look at it that. The Prime Minister is just giving us warm words. If I can just finish. He didn't, actually. I think all we saw was warm words, trying to find a reason or a place to put this issue. The only time that I will say it's not warm words is when we see something concrete for the victims. And as I pointed out before, Andy Street was an absolute voice on this.
Shane, can I get your view on this?
Our hearts are with the families who have not sought justice for the last 51 years. And for us, I think that's an important thing, that actually truth and justice is the legacy that we hold. And I think, as Julie has put out, I mean, you've said so eloquently that actually justice has been denied here. And it's what the families deserve. And I think that's what we need here. As we move forward and as we continue to work with the families to be able to make sure that they're supported.
I mean, we've been denied legal aid. Legal aid. Our mother, she'll be 92 in 3 months. She's not very well at the moment. And she's been refused legal aid. Other families have been refused legal aid. Why can't we get legal aid?
Okay.
She lives off her pension, and we have to go out on the streets begging to raise money for legal representation who are based in Belfast with KRW law. It's absolutely obscene.
Okay.
Only a judge-led public inquiry can deal with this very complex issue, especially as the Home Office is implicated.
Okay. Just finally, Preet, if you want to respond to that, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah,
but
look, I know Kier Starmer really cares about this, you know, being a humanitarian
He cares
lawyer
so much that he didn't bother to show up at the 50th memorial.
I know he wants to see justice delivered, and I know he will do everything he possibly can. So let me take this away, Julie. Honestly, I will
well,
make
that would
sure
be very
you
much
get a
appreciated.
meeting.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, Julie Hambleton, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for taking the time to come in. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We're
you.
going to move